Um, so the challenge of getting experience, doing things, playing games, what you can play, what you can't play, what you're good at, what you're not good at, reacting to others, competing, building up. This is all part of this time. Building up social confidence. You see who's more social, who's not, who's pushing to be out with everyone, who's wanting to go back home. Or so many, you have to be there to see it. But by 10, you've got 5 Mars cycles in, and you get to 12. So 10 to 12 is really just to build up to. It's really the build up to puberty and to the Jupiter return, and the beginning of a couple of years from there to Saturn. This is really 12 to 14, but by 12, which is going to be really 11 years and 4 months, a little bit before 12, you have these 6 month cycles of activity: conjunction, square, opposition, square, conjunction. And it's different to have the waxing square and the waning square. One's going off the conjunction to see how far you push it, running into stress, and then trying to go further. The opposition is running into limits and having to adjust it, but still trying to do things, but with having to get some consideration or some running into limits. And then you're learning to work within those limits, restrictions or guidances, and then there's a push to adjust it till you get back to the next wave. Move it around because the screen, the stuff on my screen is different than what you're seeing. But at 12 to 14, by 12, this is the magical year. Jupiter's there. Jupiter's return. Mars clicks in just before Jupiter. So you're starting energy, and Jupiter starts opening, and there's more and more things you can do, and more things you have to do. You need to go play. You need to play games. You play sports at school. You can start playing sports. You can start being part of clubs. You start doing things with other friends. You start having parties at other people's houses. You start being much more socially active. Your expansion of what you're doing is no longer, still all the physical development is there. But here, this is the beginning of puberty. These 2 years, the 12 to 14, is you get your puberty coming in. You have your physical energy, so much physically changing. Hair is coming in. So many things are going in. You're trying to do things, and there's so much more happening, and you're still trying to do things. And again, this Martian experience is very differentiated. It's very unique, very independent. Like, it's your puzzle. You may have 1 or 2 friends going through the same thing, but there's a lot of people that be going through different things. People you want to do things with, people you don't want to do things with. Changing gears, but this social extension from 12 to 13, and the opposition, again, that could be happening a bit earlier. It's like these start spinning off, and you have to watch to see how they do. Usually in a computer, you print these things out, you get all the dates, and you're watching, you've seen these 2 years. And we don't know general life and these developing stages. The only place I found them really explained well or deeply is in the baby books, and usually the baby books only go to about 8. Then there's other different philosophies, different teachings, different belief systems as to how kids come up through puberty and go into sexuality and get into adulthood. And all those different things that Jupiter and Saturn is guiding the Mars, and people can go with them or against them. And thank goodness some people can go with them. Thank goodness some people go against them, and things change. Experiences get gained every day. So we get ahead of it, we get behind it, we get sluggish, and the minute we do, we're not doing as well as we could. It's hard to be up and in the moment, every moment. Depends how you're eating, how you're thinking, how you're evaluating, whether you like yourself, whether you exceed those. So there's a spectrum of a kaleidoscope of experiences being gained, and starting being applied much more socially between 12 and 14. Who do you know? What are you part? Where are you aligning with? What do you like? What don't you like? And what do you want to do becomes, what am I capable of doing? What can I do? What can I do? Often by then we have blocks of things we think we can't do. And we're really inhibited by our family. And we're going out. Thank goodness we're starting to be exposed by other people, and we're having new things to do. Of course, over this next 3 Mars cycles, your sexuality and experiences are going to come in. Your physicality, your hormonal cycles. And by 14, you're starting the second cycle, and the next cycle of Mars. By then, it's very different for everyone. You've been through 7 Mars cycles. And they get more and more unique as you go along, but you're working with your Mars and your texture of your Mars as you're going along with this. So by 14th, the next wave of, like that Mars conjunction is a surge of energy. Don't tell me what to do, I got to do this. And at 14, your parents are trying to tell what you do because you can get into social trouble, you can get pregnant, you can do things, you're too young to have experiences, and you're being controlled, and all you want to go do is have experiences from 14 to 16. So when your energy is blocked and is frustrated and rejected, I mean, juvenile delinquency is mostly boys rather than girls, because the boys get a sense of rejection for not fitting in. The girls have matured faster than them, and the differences and the seeming injustices and these differences in life become strong factors. What you can accomplish, what you can't. How you're dealing with school, how you're dealing with peer pressure, bullies, sports, athletes. What do you accomplish? 14 to 15, this reassessment, just as the Saturn opposition comes in, and Jupiter's done at the next bend of its cycle, you're at the place where you're having to understand these new restrictions at 15, these new difficulties and frustrations, and still try and see, what can I do? What can I do, or what can't I do? So there can easily be bigger depressions and difficulties at this 15-year cycle. Then you get 15 years, 6 months, 16 years comes in. That's, I mean, probably, the pressure is stronger on girls from 12 to 14. And no, it's just even boys, the whole time there's pressures here. Different types, more mature for girls, more maturing in a different way for boys. But things happen and there's repercussions. What you had to deal with parents, you're having to deal with law, with teachers, with other authority figures, and you're doing things, and other authority figures may not care for you the same way. They may have a stricter system. So you're building up by 16. By seemingly sweet 16, I mean, between 16 and 18 is probably the years of both being, you're studying, you're going to school, you're in high school, last year's a high school, and you're being physical. Also, there's a strong surge of wanting to be sexual, wanting to be physical, become like, well, I would think that the majority of kids now have some sort of will have some of their sexual experiences between 16 and 18, but there's certainly a significant number will still have their some sexual experiences between 14 and 16. If you start getting sexual experience, who's doing what to who, what's being done, what's good, what's bad, it starts being much more complicated. And as we're doing things, it starts restricting where we fit in, who's our friends, where we're going. It starts changing the pattern of what we can do or not, and there starts being more complexes around it. Still, you'll see this surge of energy, positive or negative, at the conjunction of 14 and 16, or 15 and a half. In that period, you're fighting to push for what you want. It's not fair with all you back. You do it, I can do it. So you have that rebellion at 16. It's hard to tell the kids what to do, and then they're going to go out, they're going to get their experiences, and results will come out of that. Well, there's so much to do, but it becomes much more extended to 18. So at 18, by 18, again, this is mirroring, working inside the Jupiter. So we see it as working inside the Jupiter cycle, but really you're gaining experiences. In each Mars cycle, you've gained experience that becomes your food for wisdom and something to learn from. So by the time you have 6 years of understanding, you know what it's like to be at home and you want to get out. By the time you've had 12 years, you know what it's like to be at home and gone through grade school and you're ready to go on to other things. And between 12 and 18, you're finishing high school, you're interacting, your social muscles are being developed as well, and the types of experiences you have or don't have. If you're physically in shape, you're strong, you're an athlete, you're not, or you're strong, you're beautiful, you're doing things, or you're not. You're able to do things that people want to do things with you, or they don't want to do things with you. The pecking order. They're running into bullies at school. There'll always be bullies. There's the ones who can do things easily, and they're stronger, and they're not that conscientious. And there's the weaker ones. It's funny. I was a tiny kid when I was a teenager, And I ran into bullies, but I learned how to be fast to get away from them. But I learned to hate bullying and fights and wars and violence because I was picked on a lot as a younger person. I learned to get smarter because of it, but I wasn't happy. It was a lot of angry years. With peak periods of distress and tension and adjustments and changes of behavior going on while this is going on. Okay, pull this down. Here, let's get the. Now, when when you start getting Mars a little stranger is when you get 20, you're going from, I said it's 24, went up to, oh, not the wrong one, sorry, this one.